Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hi, Owen. This is Jenna from Michigan. Um, just want to say that I really enjoy your show. I was wondering what you think is the line between typical right-wing BS talking points and full-blown QAnon at this point. I'm kind of trying to figure out where my mom stands without really fully asking her.
I'll give you a preliminary breakdown of it. Moderate right wing is basically, people who want lower taxes and people who are pro-life and things like that, and anti-LGBT, but not extremely anti-LGBT. That's kind of the moderate right. The right, not the far right and not the moderate, but just plain the right, is the election was stolen from Trump, and as you move further to the right, you start getting into like vaccine conspiracy and things like that. Once you hit QAnon level, you're just fucking gone. That's stuff like the people in power have been replaced by clones, and they have been running things for the deep state behind people's backs. They've been trying to open the borders so that kids can get in, so they can capture these kids and sacrifice them to Satan. That's the level we're dealing with QAnon. That's like far right territory. But sadly, the far right is growing larger and larger. Let's keep listening. There's more.
I know she believes that the election was stolen, and
that's right to far right, although a lot of people on the right tend to believe that. It's not just a small group, it's a lot.
She told me not to get the vaccine because of trackers, and now she's saying there's graphene oxide in the boosters.
Now you've hit far right. Graphene oxide stuff, tracking mechanisms, that's far right. That is QAnon territory. Absolutely right there.
I told her that that's BS, and she wouldn't believe me. She said that the sites that I gave her were paid off. I know she listens to people like Amanda Grace and Robin Bullock, and pretty sure Kat Kerr.
Those people are absolutely QAnoners. Definitely. Your mom is QAnon, for sure. At this point, if she's listening to Kat Kerr and Robin Bullock and Amanda Grace, I think I've covered Amanda Grace on my channel before, but only once or twice. They are full-blown wingnuts, absolutely, and it sounds like your mom is definitely in the QAnon movement, or at least parallel to it.
I'm just wondering, because it seems like the line is getting pretty blurred between the two at this point. So I'm just wondering what you think is just right-wing conspiracy and QAnon conspiracy. Thanks. Have a great night. Bye.
Yeah, it definitely is. The line is getting a lot more blurred between far right and just kind of right. That's partly thanks to Trump, at least. He has been doing his best to push far-right conspiracy theories, but unfortunately, he moved the Overton window to the right. He was the mainstream candidate for the right wing. He's the person that everybody listened to. I mean, he was the president of the United States. People listened to him and believed him and trusted the things that he said. Even people who weren't really that far right in the beginning listened to him and believed him. So Trump has effectively moved things that were originally just moderate right or even center right and just pushed them out into la la land. Like, can't even see them from where we're standing at this point. I mean, a whole full-blown cult rose up around the guy. QAnon specifically rose up around this guy. And it's sad to see everything get so polarized the way it has. And I'm sorry you have to deal with that. I wish there was something that we could do to try to pull people out, but it's a slow and arduous process. It's difficult and time-consuming. And it's something that not everybody has the time to do, sadly.
Johann from Wuppertal, Germany, and I want to know your position on, say, a religious organization was implying that they support a candidate, like, I think we should build a wall, we should do this and this, that a political candidate has talked about, do you think that the punishment should be the same or different?
Interesting question. To summarize, from my understanding, the question is, should a religious organization be penalized for implying that they support a candidate, a political candidate? First of all, currently under the law, the Johnson Amendment says that religious organizations or more broadly, 501c3 nonprofit organizations are not allowed to explicitly endorse or explicitly oppose political candidates. They can talk about, abortion. They can talk about LGBT rights or even civil rights or any other political subject that they want to talk about. That's okay. But they can't explicitly oppose or endorse political candidates. So, from my understanding, the question is, should they be penalized for implicitly supporting or opposing, like kind of slyly hinting at it? And in my opinion, the problem is that if you told them that they can't imply anything or they can't talk about certain subjects, that means that this whole thing is closed off to them. Like, they can't talk about a huge branch of subjects that aren't necessarily political. The law is by necessity very specific. It has to be specific because there's always some scumbag out there that will find and exploit a loophole to it, as we have seen. I would like to see the Johnson Amendment broadened so that they can't take advantage of the little loopholes by not just saying you guys should go out and vote for Donald Trump, but saying you should vote for the candidate that believes in this policy and that policy and blah, blah, blah. That's obviously exploiting a loophole that was not intended by the Johnson Amendment, and I would like to see that loophole closed. But I don't want to bar churches from talking about subjects that may or may not be political, like abortion rights and things like that. I'm okay with that for freedom of speech reasons. That's just my take. I could be convinced otherwise.
Hi, Owen. This is Liza from North Carolina. I was wondering, you've talked before about whether or not the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses really believe what they're saying. And you said that to some extent you think most of them probably do. I'm wondering, do you think Trump believes what he's saying? Do you think he genuinely believes he's winning, or do you think he's recognizing the following he has and trying to keep them in the game and keep them appeased and happy with it? Or do you think that he just is genuinely a little delusional about that? Not that we can diagnose it, but I'm just curious about your opinion on that. Hope you have a great evening. Good night.
Interesting question. The old saying goes, a good liar believes their own lies. I think that quote is from George on Seinfeld. I'm not really sure, but it stands. I mean, that's true. The best liar believes their own lies. If you really want to convince somebody of something, then you have to believe it yourself, because that will get the most realistic reaction out of yourself and out of other people. I think Donald Trump probably starts out knowing that he's full of shit, but as time goes on, I think he slowly convinces himself of its truth more and more. And that's why we see him make these outrageous claims, like, that the election was rigged and all that stuff. But you can see him, like, trying to convince other people of it, or trying to get people to back him up on it, like calling the Georgia governor, I think, or the head of the elections there or whatever, and saying, all we need is 11,000 votes. Find me 11,000 votes, or whatever it was.
I just want to find 11,780 votes. I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Raffensperger refused.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
In another tense exchange, the president pushed a conspiracy theory that a voting machine company tampered with ballots, even suggesting state officials hid illegal activity.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that?
Georgia lawyer Ryan Germany shot that down.
No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, I know you don't.
You can see him trying to convince other people of the delusion. So I don't think that he completely 100% buys it, but I think he wants to buy his own delusions and is willing to do anything that it takes to convince himself of it as well as others.
Hi there, Telltale. My name is Jackie. I'm actually not from America. I'm from Canada. I'm from a province named Saskatchewan. And I just finished watching your latest Kenneth Copeland video, and I was just wondering if you think that there will ever be a pastor, whether it's someone who's popular right now, like Copeland or Kinham, or someone else in the future who might try and pull a Book of Mormon and make just a whole new book of the Bible. Thank you for listening to my call. I hope you have a great day. Keep up the great work. Bye.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think that currently they are writing new books of the Bible, basically, but they're not really putting it down in books and trying to get it added to the canon. They're doing what would be considered prophesying in the same way that they believe that, like, Moses and Daniel and everybody else prophesied, like, saw the future and put it down, like revelating, they believe they're doing the exact same thing. So they could write out what they say in a new book and put it at the end of the Bible. That's how serious they want you to take what they're saying. They want you to take it as seriously as the book of Revelation. Like, dead serious. But the problem is that a lot of the people that are doing these prophecies, quote unquote, as they call them, they're contradictory. And there are a lot of them, as it turns out. I was actually looking at this YouTube channel the other day. Troy Black, I think? Yes, yeah. It was Troy Black. YouTube channel's name is Troy Black. And he's pretty fucking big. He's got, 285,000 subscribers. His whole channel is dedicated to revealing prophecy that God has given to him. And he did this video the other day. This is the video that kind of drew me to his channel in the first place. He was addressing why the prophets were all wrong about Donald Trump. He seems to believe that these people really were prophesying, really were basically writing new books to the Bible with what they were saying, and Donald Trump is in it. But for some reason, they got it wrong. And his justification after this, 30-minute long video or hour long, I don't remember how long it was now. It was fucking long. His explanation after all of that was the prophets either got it wrong because they weren't supposed to reveal that. God told them that Trump was going to win the election, but he didn't want them to tell anybody else. And as punishment for telling other people, God made sure that it didn't come true. That was his first possible explanation. His second explanation was maybe they mistook that, God's words for their own desires. Maybe they thought that God wanted this, but it was just what they wanted. So close to self-awareness, right? But like I said, this guy built his channel off of prophesying, revealing prophecy that God has been giving to him. So writing new books of the Bible is now mainstream, basically, in Protestant churches. It's kind of the thing to do. People believe that you can, and that people do all the time. They believe that God reveals secrets to people all the time, just like he supposedly did to the Bible writers. It's just that now we're in a different era where writing isn't the primary means of communication like it was 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. Now it's more like video essays or just social media, short little blurbs. So it's not passed around and read by everybody in the area like, certain manuscripts from the Bible were. The ultimate point here is they probably won't write a new book of the Bible and try to tack it to the end, only because we live in an era where writing something like that isn't really what people do. It's not how they communicate their prophecy anymore. It's more like videos and social media posts and stuff. That guy's channel is a fucking trip, though, man. Troy Black, I think it was. Yeah, Troy Black. You guys should check that shit out. It is weird. Very fucking weird.
Hey, Owen. This is Matthew again from Wayne County. I had a question regarding things going on right now, and I especially noticed your poll about, how we feel like Biden's doing right now and everything.
For clarity, I posted a poll on my YouTube channel the other day basically asking how Biden is doing or how people view him as a president. The overwhelming response was, we're kind of right in the middle. And I think I generally agree with that. He could have been a lot worse. He's done some things that I really like. And he's not Trump, so there's the benefit right there.
And it got me thinking about the Republican Party as a whole. And I was wondering, do you think there's any way they can kind of come back from any of this? With them constantly kind of spiraling further into extremism, do you think that they're going to end up coming out of that at some point? Or do you think it's basically just inescapable at this point? And, do you think there was a period of time where it's a line was crossed where there's no coming back from this? So I guess to keep it short, do you think the Republican Party will eventually stop being more and more extremist and cult-like, or do you think it's too late for them? And if it is too late, when do you think when do you think that line was crossed? Anyway, thank you and hope to hear from you.
Really interesting question, and it's a complex question. Is it too late for the United States? I don't think it is. I don't think so. Is it too late for the Republican Party? I don't think it's too late for anything, really. I think it's too late for some people. Some people are just lost in delusion. Just really no chance of pulling them back to reality. But with that being said, we have to enter every situation assuming that the person that we're dealing with is savable. I view the prison system the same way. I don't want to make the assumption about any single prisoner that they're beyond redemption. We should come into every situation assuming that the people that we're dealing with can be rehabilitated, even though there are people who can't. Even though there are some prisoners that are unsavable, they're just gone. Their minds are not like human brains. They're truly evil people, and they can't be helped. We have to assume they can be anyways. We have to afford that courtesy to every person that we deal with. Same with Trump supporters. That, a lot of them, especially QAnoners, are just gone. They're just gone. But we have to go into every situation assuming that we can help them in some way. Try to help them find their way back to reality, basically. As far as the statistics go, I think that the people who really buy a lot of Trump's stuff, a lot of the most extreme people, are largely older in demographically. I think they lean on the older side. So if you think about it, in 30 years, if the propaganda stops flowing now, a lot of those people will have died off, and the newer generation will rise up and start pushing things in a more progressive direction. if the propaganda stopped, we would see a leftward shift in the country. Things are getting really polarized right now, but lucky for us, the younger generation, by and large, is not leaning toward election theft and all of the other nonsensical claims that Trump supporters generally make. I think that, for the most part, the United States is going to be okay. We're going to come out of this because we have a constant cycle of death and birth, and as people grow up, their views change, and as they become more informed, their views change, things like that. As far as the Republican Party goes specifically, I think the Republican Party is going to have to shake Trump off before it can recover from what's been going on. It's going to have to move away from Trump, and the propaganda is going to have to stop. But it's kind of a long road ahead. I mean, Trump's dad lived into his 90s, right? Granted, the guy had Alzheimer's, so he wasn't all there in the end. And that may be something we have to look forward to for Trump. And not look forward to, but that may be something that Trump has to face, put it that way, in the future. But I'm assuming that we have probably 10 more years with Trump right now. That's what I'm looking at, of him trying to radicalize and make things worse and things like that. After that, for the most part, the Trumpist extremist propaganda will probably start to slow, if it doesn't slow before then. And then the younger generation can step up and move things further left. On a side note, the world as a whole is actually taking a leftward shift right now. Every 4 to 8 years, we have a shift back and forth, left, right, on the world stage, and more specifically in the United States. There are these global and local shifts that take place. So it seems bleak right now. I know it does. But just give it a little bit of time and do your part to fight this propaganda that's happening, and we'll come out the other side. Just give it a little bit of time. Dark Hunter, you're so modest the way you corrected yourself on look forward to, referring to Trump possibly developing Alzheimer's. Yeah, I don't want anybody to get the impression that I'm excited about anybody's suffering, no matter who it is. I don't want anybody dead. And I didn't want to give that impression. And I know that phrase, look forward to, gives the impression of excitement. That's not the message that I want to send to people. Steve Brown, yes, dump Trumpism followed by the preachers. I know, but it's an uphill battle. It's hard getting there. I just, like I said, we've got probably 10 years to look ahead before Trump is out of the political game. Probably a maximum of 10 years. At that point, I think we'll start moving away from propaganda a little bit more. But I have to say, Fox News and more broadly the Republican Party have been pushing out propaganda for a lot longer than Trump has been involved in politics. Trump just co-opted it. It's been around since the year 2000 at least, and longer than that. September 11th, when all that happened, I've been going through some of those old tapes and stuff for the sake of this Pat Robertson clip I'm going to be doing in a little while. On September 13th, 2 days after September 11th, Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson were saying the same type of propagandistic bullshit then, in 2001, that we hear now.
What we saw on Tuesday, as terrible as it is, could be minuscule if in fact God continues to lift the curtain and allow the enemies of America to give us probably what we deserve.
Well, Jerry, that's my feeling. I think we've just seen the antechamber to terror. We haven't even begun to see what they can do to the major population.
The ACLU's got to take a lot of blame for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I'll hear from them for this, but throwing God, or successfully with the help of the federal court system, throwing God out of the public square, out of the schools. The abortionists have got to bear some burden for this, because God will not be mocked, and when we destroy 40 million little innocent babies, we make God mad. I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, the ACLU, People for the American Way, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
Well, I totally concur.
So this is a long-term problem. This isn't like something that just kind of popped up when Trump popped up. He just seized the reins and took control of it. That's the problem, really. It was already forming into something that was ready to be a cult. It just needed a leader to come along and seize power, and Trump did that. Faithless Forum is happening, and I've been meaning to announce this. It's taking place in November. Faithlessforum.com. Go to the website, and it'll show you the dates. We will be in person, but we're going to be extremely careful. We want to have herd immunity for the conference. You have to be vaccinated to attend. If you want to go, it's going to be a fun time. I'm going to be there, and Holy Kool-Aid and a bunch of other people are going to be there. I'm pretty excited about it. I meant to announce this before. I apologize that I didn't get to it sooner. But like I said, you can find tickets to it on faithlessforum.com and the dates and the everything that you need to know. It's all there, and it's going to be fun. And we will be very careful.